So next we are going to look at the Code of Conduct for Working with Children for Apax English and Apax Leaders. So this is compulsory for all individuals working within Apax Leaders or Apax English. It will be updated when necessary, and it is based upon the law of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam and moral values of Vietnam. These are not rules of Apax, but rules of the country. So number one is to respect the rights of all children, and basically the rest of this list is telling you what the rights of all children are. Number two, consider in all actions that each child has his or her particular needs and expectations. The moral of this is just to remember that all children are different, so we cannot treat them all in the exact same way, and we have to recognise their differences and try our best to meet the needs that each individual child has. Number three, give all children equal attention. Ignoring and not considering them constitutes a form of mistreatment in Vietnam. We will naturally have our favourites and our least favourites in class, but we have to do our very, very best to not let that affect how we teach with them or engage with them. We have to do our very best to ensure that all students are given the same amount of attention and the same amount of opportunity within class. Number four, behaviours or language that could negatively influence children or could be offensive or discriminatory based on race, nationality, religion and culture are prohibited. This goes without saying that we do not want to be negatively influencing students with our language or behaviour at any time for any of these reasons. Number five, drinking alcoholic beverage in the workplace or beforehand or during work hours is strictly prohibited. This goes without saying and is hopefully very obvious to you why this is the case. Number six, avoid being alone with one child for a prolonged period. Again, fairly obvious that we wouldn't want to spend too long with one child for a prolonged period. If you feel that you're going to be doing something like helping a student with their homework, or they've asked you for some help with pronunciation or anything like that after class and you have the opportunity to do so, I would suggest two things that go along with that. One would be to tell a CM or maybe your head teacher that you're going to be doing so. And secondly, make sure it's in a classroom, because then it will be on camera and that will protect you in all circumstances. Number seven, avoid touching or making gestures that may be misinterpreted by the third party. We're never going to say that touching is strictly prohibited, because there will naturally be high fives, students will hug you, things like that. What we would encourage is that for most forms of contact, let the student be the one to encourage it rather than yourself, because that way it can never be misinterpreted. Number eight, do not help children do things that children cannot do, such as getting dressed. Again, we would say let the student be the one to encourage any help that's required rather than you go looking for it, because again, this can be misinterpreted fairly easily. We're never going to say don't help students, absolutely not. Things like tying shoelaces, absolutely, that's going to be fine. But for example here, where it says don't help students get dressed, that's fairly common sense as a thing we wouldn't do. Number nine, physical violence against children or threatening to do so is strictly prohibited. This is very obvious. We would not threaten children with physical violence in any way. Anyone doing so, whether it be through frustration or any other reason, is likely to lose their job for this sort of behaviour. Number 10, any kind of psychological abuse behaviours such as insulting, shouting, humiliating or ridiculing of children in front of others is prohibited. This would be classed as bullying. We don't want this to be happening in front of other children or with the children on their own. We shouldn't be insulting, shouting, humiliating or ridiculing the students at any time. Number 11, do not meet with students outside of working hours. Again, fairly obvious why we would not be doing this. Exceptions maybe if the parents of the student have asked you to attend an event or go for dinner with the family, then that would be okay because the parents of the student are there. Maybe the parents have asked you to tutor the student and you agree to do so. Again, I would just let the company, I would let Apax know that this is happening. Obviously, the parents know it's happening. So you just need to make yourself safe with that. Be careful with tutoring though. If you were to tutor the student and to receive payment for it, and that meant that the student withdrew from Apax, this would be in breach of your contract, as you would be gaining financially whilst the company would be losing out. So make sure that that does not happen. And finally, number 12, avoid sharing personal contact information with children. Absolutely no way you should be sharing your phone number. And we would just encourage you to be careful with social media. You will find that students will probably add you on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Please do be careful with social media. Things that you may like or view on social media may be picked up by the student, may be seen by the student and be considered inappropriate by them or their family, and we want to avoid any sort of unnecessary trouble like that when possible. There are the 12 rules with the Code of Conduct for working with children from Apax English and Apax Leaders. Please do get in touch with the training department or the HR department if you have any further questions. Thank you.